Hi, I'm Zac Snelling, the Head of Property Management for Rae White New Zealand, and welcome. Look, it's an exciting time for our property management business right now. There is a whole heap happening, and that's why you're joining us now. We're launching what we call a new standard in property management. This is a range of exclusive new products for self-managing landlords and a baseline of protection and trust and standards for our customers. If you're interested in learning more, please visit pm.raywhite.com. There is a lot to it, so I encourage you to go check it all out. Now, a key element to these standards is education. It's so important, and that is exactly why we're here today with our two very special guests. We've got Joanne Rae from the Real Estate Institute. Welcome, Jo.
Hi, Zac.
And our Logan Reardon from the Loan Market Group. Hi, Logan.
Thanks, Zac.
Look, thanks for joining us today, guys. The interview is designed to keep investors and landlords informed because there is also a lot happening outside of our company. There's new legislation coming, there's changes happening in the lending space. You're gonna have a lot of questions, and this is why we've got Jo and Logan here today to help answer some of those. Before I go on though, it is important to highlight that this video is designed to be general in its nature. If you're gonna be making decisions off the back of some of the topics we're talking about, please first talk to your chartered accountant, your professional property manager. The video here is designed to keep you across the terms in general, but there's always more detail to it, so go check it out. Now, Jo, you've been in the industry for a little while here. You've had many roles in property management. You've started up and owned two super successful businesses that I know of. You've got your agent's license. You've been a member of the Real Estate Institute since 1993. You now sort of consult to the Institute and head up their property management network and division. You help us so much, but there's so much going on. What do you think is the most important issue landlords should be across right now?
Right now, I think it's the changes that have been announced. There's a lot going on, and we really need to get our head around how that impacts us in the future.
Oh, we will definitely be deep diving into that too. Logan, you're one of the leading mortgage advisors in New Zealand. After starting with the Loan Market Group just shy of 5 years ago, you're now ranked in the top 20 advisors nationally. You've hit top status levels with Loan Market. You're running a team of 12, mate, from your base in Hobsonville. You're a busy guy. You also service clients nationwide. Look, combining this lending experience with your own residential and commercial investment portfolio, you're going to bring a certain element of knowledge to this video today our landlords can certainly tap into. I'm going to pose the same question. From your perspective, what do you think is the most important issue landlords should be across right now?
Yeah, the most important thing from our side is navigating these high interest rates. It's a tough time, so it's putting systems in place to get through the next sort of 12 to 18 months until we can start to get some relief.
Fantastic. Now, for those of you wondering about my own background, look, I've been in the property management industry now for 17 years across all kinds of roles. I've been a property manager, I've had my own property management business, but what I do now, I love it. It's heading up the Rae White New Zealand Property Management Network. We have nearly 200 offices and 22,000 plus properties. So as you can imagine, there is always a lot happening, but I like to think of every day as a school day. Our industry seems to change almost quarterly, yearly with all these new legislation impacts and things that are happening. And again, education is a core of our new standard. It's why we're doing this today. So there's plenty to keep into and let's get stuck into it. Now, Jo, RTA reforms.
Yes.
Here we go again.
Yeah,
Yep.
another round.
Previous government brought a few changes in. The new government is reversing some of those and bringing in even further changes as well. A lot of detail here. Please go and have a look online or talk to one of our property managers. There's the reintroduction of the 90-day no-cause termination. Notice changes for tenants and owners will be changing. Look, the current situation where a fixed term will not end, that's going to revert back to basically what both parties decide upon. There's also, pet bonds. We finally have the ability for tenants to safely have their pets and landlords to have recourse should anything go wrong. A lot of other details here as well. We've got online bond lodgements. We've got changes to modernising notices delivery, so landlords can do that through, say, Facebook or WeChat or whatever platform they're using. Jo, there is a heap to it. What do you think are the biggest changes here that are going to have the most impact?
I think the no-cause 90-day notice, and I say that because I feel that a lot of landlords potentially wouldn't give tenants a chance who had maybe a blemish on their track record with renting in the past. And now I think landlords will feel that there is a pathway to give someone an opportunity, and if it doesn't work out, then they have the ability to end a tenancy legally. So I don't see that as a downside. I know a lot of tenants are concerned about the no-cause 90-day notice, but I think we've also got to take into consideration that you can't give a retaliatory notice anyway. So it's not something that can just sort of be bandied about if it's in retaliation to something. I see it as a positive for tenants that have struggled to get on the consideration list simply because, as we know, things go wrong with people in their lives, and potentially they've had an issue maybe with their credit, and an owner just says, I can't take a chance on that because at the moment it's very difficult to end a tenancy.
You raised some really good points there, and I want to make it really clear. We all here understand the differences in opinions and the rhetoric that exists around landlords and tenants and current media noise and everything that is happening. Although in saying that, there's a real bipartisan kind of stance of us versus them. Landlords want good quality long-term tenants. They want to have a secure household to provide. They're not trying to issue 90-day termination notices unnecessarily. They want to have long-term tenancies in place, and you raised the point around being able to give people a chance. With the current RTA regulations where basically a fixed term will automatically roll over, the landlord has lost a little bit of control there in terms of the decision over how they use their property. This 90-day no-cause termination provides a little bit more of a safety net there. It provides the ability to, like you said, if someone has a poor credit history or a blemish in their past through no fault of their own. Gosh, I remember one of my flatmates forgot to pay the power bill that I was attached to as well, and that caused me some issues for a little while there many years ago. But this allows landlords to give some of those tenants a chance to prove themselves, to get into a property that at the moment might just be sitting empty. And we are seeing that too. You know, Joe, talk us through that, the issues we're facing around supply and demand and what you're seeing across New Zealand, where the current rules have probably maybe encouraged some landlords to sit back and leave things empty.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we know there's a housing shortage. And I think, you know, some of the figures I've heard is that we could do with another 90,000 homes just in Auckland. So we know that there's a problem. And I think the lack of the ability to end a fixed term has meant that a lot of people, and I'll just give this as an example, I know on Waiheke, there were a lot of owners that would rent their home for 11 months of the year to a tenant. They've had that relationship for years and years. In the fixed term, everyone knowing that the owner's moving in for 3 weeks at Christmas, and then the tenancy starts again the following year. Now, there's a lot of properties across the country, and Queenstown is another one, where people have lost the ability to end a fixed term, and so they've simply they don't want to take the risk, they don't want to break the law, so they've just taken the property off the market altogether.
And we've seen that a lot too across the network. You raised Queenstown, we've got some of the areas like, say, Whangamata, Raglan, you know, anything that could be more of a traditional sort of holiday type of area, where the investor knowingly and transparently says, hey, look, I want to have this home for 1 month over Christmas. We have many tenants who are happy with that, who want to take the home for the rest of the year. The current rules don't allow for that. And so this reintroduction of the ending of a fixed term, very clear start and finish dates, hopefully again are going to have positive impacts for tenants. It's a supply issue at the moment. Until there are more homes built, anything that can help bring more rental properties to the market is a positive for tenants. And I feel this will be one of those steps. Now, Joe, one of the latest changes we've had, and there's a lot of detail we still don't have, but is around the ability now finally for tenants to safely have pets in a rental property and for landlords and investors to have a recourse around that should something go wrong. Talk us through what we know so far.
So we haven't seen the draft bill. So the devil will be in the detail. We need to see that. But what we do know is if you have a quick look online, only 15% of the listings say that they're pet friendly, when we know over 65% of New Zealanders own pets. So you can see the problem there straight away. I see it as a good thing for tenants. I mean, tenants think of their pets like their family. And for many reasons, mental health reasons, you know, people that are lonely, having a pet is a major part of their life. So it's just understanding the detail, it's letting landlords feel that they've got a little bit of security if something goes wrong. But for the most part, the majority of people with pets look after their pets and they look after the homes that the pets live in. So I think it's a good thing, long overdue. Tenants won't have to hide the fact that they've got a pet, they can be open about it. I think you also need to understand that this is not a blanket, everyone can have a pet. If you'd had a pet that had a history with attacking people, obviously there would be grounds to potentially say no, an unfenced property. So we need the detail to understand where are the reasons that you are legally able to say no, and get our head around that.
Look, the detail is always going to be the crucial element here.
For sure.
And the word probably reasonable, I think, is the one we're looking all to see. But it's whether it's like an unfenced property, whether it's a issue potentially with the history of the pet. But the stats speak for themselves. I mean, 65% plus of New Zealand people have pets in their household. Again, landlords want long-term quality tenants in their properties. And if we can open that up to pets, the landlord has a bit of security in place should the floorboards get scratched or something happen to the property. This is, again, a good thing for both people on both sides of the equation. So it's really great to see that one kind of coming through. Now, Logan, I'm going to move to you here. Look, we're in a high interest rate environment. There's no surprises about that at the moment. It could be causing some pain depending on where you are, your structure, the term of the loan. The rates at the moment anywhere from high sixes to sort of early eights. Deductibility changes have come back in. Investors now are able to sort of bring some of that back, and even more so next year. New build properties remain unchanged, but what sort of investor behaviour have you seen since these changes have been announced for the interest deductibility? What are you seeing in the work you do?
Yeah, we had a lot of clients reaching out prior to these changes coming through, and there was a lot of landlords looking at selling just due to the high interest rate environment and not getting that interest deductibility. It sort of hurt the back line. So what's happening now is with these changes coming through, so we've got 80% interest deductibility from the 1st of April 2024, and then next year, 1st of April 2025, it's 100%, which is great, which means investors can now hold on to their properties longer and get a bit of relief there, which is great.
Now, look, this question you're probably not looking forward to. It's the crystal ball question. It's always asked, I'm sure you get it a lot as well, but the OCR for now remains unchanged. The Reserve Bank Governor has stated that it's going to take something pretty significant for that to move any further. Where do we see interest rates going at the moment? Comes with obviously the huge caveat of, we're not experts, crystal ball gazers kind of thing, but you're in the space. You're dealing with money lending and international markets. What are you seeing? What can we tell our investors watching today?
Yeah, it's hard, and COVID threw this for us completely, where just after the COVID period, money was so cheap that people just started spending. And they've carried on spending, and that's why inflation grew so high. It was 4.7, it's now reduced down to 4 just recently, which is great. So we're heading back into that zone of 1 to 3%, which is what the Reserve Bank needs inflation to be. When it gets close or to that period, that's when we're going to start seeing an easing of the OCR. And that's therefore then going to be passed back to the banks are going to pass that on to the consumers and start lowering those interest rates. So crystal ball scenario, hopefully it doesn't get shattered with another world event, but what we're hopefully seeing is the later part of 2024 is when we're going to start hopefully seeing a decrease of the interest rate. And it may come quicker than we think, as in the fall might be sharper than what we possibly think, due to there's a lot of people out there that are hurting, and the Reserve Bank's potentially held on the OCR a little bit too long to try and fight this inflation. So time will tell.
You sort of mentioned potentially some people might be hurting, and the desire to kind of hang in there a little bit. Look, great news. Hopefully, crystal ball, if we can see some of those rates start to fall towards the end of this year, early next year, that would be fantastic for many. But for those who are currently sitting there watching this going, I am hurting a little bit and I need to try and find a solution. You and I talked about some strategies there. Can you talk us through those?
Yeah, so like I'm in the same boat as well with my investments. The interest rate environment is hurting us. And you start looking at your portfolio and think, am I better off to sell? Or do I stay and keep topping up? Because the numbers aren't quite working for most scenarios. However, selling in this environment, we currently know that we're in a very lull of the property prices, and we haven't seen a incline of such yet, and hopefully it's coming. So what we're trying to portray to the investors is, hey, if you can hold on, try and wait to get out of this position so you can make some good sort of profit back on your property versus selling now. And some tools we can help combat that is, one, going on to that interest only. A lot of investors may have been on interest only but think they can only have, say, a 5-year period. It's not true. We're able to keep getting that interest only period, if not at their bank, by easily refinancing to another bank and getting that interest only period. The second one is looking at extending that loan term out. So if clients have had a property for, say, 15 years and it was on a 30-year loan term, it's now only on 15 years. And so they're making their repayments on that. By extending that back out to, say, 20, 25 or 30, that's going to lower the repayments, and that's going to help ease that pain. But obviously we don't want to stay at that long term as well. So as interest rates start to fall, that's when we keep those repayments the way they are, and that'll bring that loan term back down.
I think the key thing though is there are options there, and I'm probably guilty of this myself, and I know many investors are as well, but Kiwis tend to sort of typically be a little set and forget. We get our loan in place, we get our finance secured, and then we just kind of park that. Whether there's a perception of difficulty in dealing with banks or whatever that might be. Look, you and I have worked personally in the past, and I know the work you do and what you can provide through Loan Market is quite surprising versus what you get just going to your bank. Do you recommend investors, what do they do if they're thinking this is a lot of work, or haven't even looked at their financing lately?
Yeah, it's, if an investor's looking and trying to get options, the bank's not really there to help them. The bank's there to have them sit there and forget and make money off the lending they're doing. What we do as mortgage brokers is we're reviewing people's portfolios, what they're currently on their interest rate environment, and we look for options. And if you're just heading to your bank, you're in their square box. And if they don't have options to help you, then it's not going to work. And that's where people are getting scared and maybe selling. So a lot of people don't realise our service is free of charge. So we get paid from the banks, and we know exactly what every bank is doing in regards to interest rates and cash contribution. In our office, we've got a big wall of interest rates and all policies. So we're currently updating those daily to make sure that we're passing that on to the client. So make sure you're speaking to a broker, and they can sort of find some better solutions for you.
So basically a simple phone call or an email reaching out to Loan Market or Loan Market could potentially help you. It could relieve some pain. It could save you thousands, hopefully, fingers crossed. Logan will get you to saving thousands. I know at the moment though, it's a little harder for people to secure lending. We've got potentially debt to income ratios coming in. What is your advice for investors to put themselves in the best position before they make this call?
Yeah, debt to income ratio that is coming in for investors, it's going to be 7 times income. And so that is your income, as in what you get as a salary, plus that rental income, plus potentially other income that's coming through. If we take a client now in this high interest rate environment, we're actually only getting around 4 to 4.5 times income to lending ability. So we're actually quite far off that position. So we're not going to notice those DTIs come in for a couple of years, I would say. As interest rates start to fall, that's when the change is going to happen. When it comes to that debt to income side of it, that debt takes in not just your mortgage, but all your buy now, pay later, your credit cards and things like that. So if you've got high availability on those limits, that's where you want to look into that position to bring down that debt, so you can help borrow if you're potentially looking at more properties.
And again, a call prior can help talk about what you need to do and things you need to get in order, maybe with your statements and bits and pieces like that. So reach out and have a chat. Hey, look, thanks, Logan. We're going to move now to Joe in terms of regulation.
Great.
The long talked about property management regulation. Hey, so the Property Management Regulation Bill is now before Parliament. It's past its first reading. It's before the Select Committee. It is looking likely. Do you think the current government has the ongoing support there for this to go through?
Well, what I do know is there's strong support from our profession. So over 80% want regulation of property managers. And the difficulty is at the moment, anyone can set up a property management company. So you can collect millions of dollars from various clients and you can have it sitting in your own mortgage account. You could have it earning interest. And people actually don't have any checks and balances around what happens with their money. You don't have to have any business insurance, which is just incredible. You don't, as I say, have audits or your trust accounts checked. You don't even have to have a trust account. So it's a little bit loose and fast at the moment, and the consumers actually don't understand there's not a lot of protection for them if something goes wrong. So this is about the consumers having some protection. It's about property managers having ongoing education and training. The RTA is complex, we all know that. And often now in this environment, someone will come into property management, have an induction, and really, depending on the organisation they're with, they're expected to know everything, and you simply can't be across it. So regulation will put in standards of education, ongoing education and training, a public register. So, the public can go on and search up a name and see if someone's licensed. There's no ability for that at the moment.
And look, this is something we're particularly passionate about, and I have no shame in doing a giant plug here for Rae White in this. This is our new standard in property management. This is so important. The regulation of what we do. I think just our company alone, it's we're sort of $9 million plus a week in rental that we're collecting. It's $30 million plus a year in bonds, $17 billion in investment assets, the immeasurable value of the people within those homes that we manage. The fact that a property manager can start up a business effectively from the back seat of their car, running all the funds through their own interest-bearing account, no insurance, no financial audits, no trust account, no education, no minimum requirements. This is something we've already gone ahead and done. You can learn more on our website about that, our new standard in property management. But this regulation bill is long overdue as far as we're concerned. It's going to be talking about registration and licensing, finally some training and entry requirements, industry practice standards, a complaints and disciplinary process. It is still a little way off. Fingers crossed, should this move through swiftly, when are we looking at that coming into effect for the industry as a whole?
I would say 18 months after it's passed. If it gets through the second reading, then it's a third reading. So 2025. Yeah, cool. But, time moves swiftly and it won't be long before that's here.
And again, it's so important. We've already done it. I want people to know that very clearly and to check that out on our website. Your work with the Real Estate Institute, Joe, you're across all groups. Rae White, the other brands, the smaller companies, independent property managers. What is the rhetoric around these changes? Are they in support?
Totally in support, because there's so many people doing an amazing job and then their reputations are damaged by those who really don't know what they're doing. So we think regulation will lift the standard of the entire profession, and those who are sort of on the fringe, doing everything, shall we say, budget style, just simply won't exist because they will have to follow the process.
It's going to be a good thing for our industry once this is finally here.
Definitely.
I know, even our network, the last 12 months, we've been working very hard to get the NZQA Level 4 qualification. It's the highest available qualification out there. I want to see every property manager have that.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, for years, people have worked in property management without having a formal qualification attached to the years of experience. Now with the New Zealand Certificate in Property Management, which I believe everyone who's in property management should do, and I know that the Rae White team have been right across that, is just a minimum part of doing the role. It's something that gives people confidence that you know what you're doing.
Well, the fact that the rules keep changing every year and there's no requirement for anyone to kind of stay across those changes just does not make sense to me.
I know, yeah.
So find out more, pm.raewhite.com, learn about the changes we've made. But Logan, I'm going to move to you again now in terms of the bright line changes. Look, talk us through it. What were the rules? What's now changing? I know many investors will be taking this news and maybe trying to rush through some decisions and thinking it's time to sell their property. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the bright line rules are about to change come the 1st of July 2024. So the old rules were if you had an existing property, there was a 10-year bright line. A new property was 5-year, and that's all been combined down to 2 years. So we've got a lot of our clients speaking to us and looking at potentially selling due to that bright line position. However, as as we kind of discussed, that we're sort of informing clients, if they can hold on, that try to hold on for that little bit longer rather than rushing that sale. We do have to make sure that if they are selling their property, that the dated sale and purchase agreement is the 1st of July 2024. If, for example, it's listed in June and they get an offer on the 28th of June and the settlement is in July, that doesn't meet the new bright line rules. So they're just going to be very aware that it's that dated sale and purchase agreement needs to be the 1st of July.
And that's one of those elements we stress: seek your professional advice, talk to your accountant before you make any big moves on that, because it could just be a couple of days off and it could change everything for you. Now, you mentioned the idea of sort of selling versus holding. What are you noticing there in the actual behaviour of the clients you're working with so far?
Yeah, a lot of clients, because of the hurt of the high interest rate and the rental income not covering the expense of the mortgage and whatnot, a lot of clients are looking at going, I need to get rid of this property so I can free up some cash flow. However, we're trying to educate clients to say, hey, you're at the bottom of the market currently with house prices. And if you are able to hold on for the next 2 to 3 years and get out of this low environment, you're going to get a much bigger gain on the property value. And therefore, when you sell, that profit you're potentially going to make is going to be outweighing what you're paying currently in this high interest environment. So we're sort of putting into play those things of that interest only or refinancing and extending that loan term to help them through this short little period so they can hold on. The worst thing we'd hate to see is someone sell out of panic now when there could have been options there for them to hold and gain a lot more in the future.
And then look, reach out to Logan no matter where you are in the country, because you can service clients nationwide. If you are in that position, you're looking to hold, I have to stress as well, the tenant demand is huge. It still far outweighs the supply that we have across New Zealand, as Joe will know, particularly some of those larger 3-4 bedroom homes. So we have the tenants there, we can put them in place, get you some pretty significant rents at the moment as well. Talk to loan market, but basically the bright line changes, you will need to speak some specific advice just before you make any moves there. Now, finally, I'm going to have a chat with you both. It's Healthy Homes. I didn't want to talk too much about Healthy Homes in this video. It should come as no surprises to investors that these are the new standards. Look, they're great standards for the quality of housing stock across New Zealand. I personally don't think the changes are too significant. It's what people should have as a warm and healthy and dry home. The deadline is fast approaching though. 1st of July 2025. Joe, are you hearing much out there about landlords holding off? Is everyone already past the line? What do you think?
Yeah. I'm hearing from property management professionals that most of them have more than 80% of their portfolio compliant. In fact, they've been compliant for a couple of years at least. And what I'm finding is that any owners that don't want to upgrade their properties, property managers are actually making that hard call and saying, look, we simply can't manage your property anymore, because there's a risk, there's a financial penalty of over $7,000, and a company has to have a look at that exposure. So we also know that any award is paid to the tenant. So tenants are also well advised to go ahead and complain about their properties if they don't meet Healthy Homes. But property managers have taken a really strong stance on this, and they're not mucking around. They're helping people to get over the line with their Healthy Homes. They have all the contacts with the contractors, which makes it easy. We are short of contractors in New Zealand, so it's not something that can just happen immediately. But I think from a professional property management point of view, we are doing really well in that space.
And I would say to investors watching this need to think about the scale of what work is left to be done, even if there are still only, say, 20,000 homes in New Zealand that are yet to meet the Healthy Home standards. And then all of a sudden everyone, say, January next year decides, I'm going to get my assessment done, I'm going to get the work done. There's only so many tradespeople out there, there's only so many Healthy Homes assessors. Particularly in that crunch time, we may see price increases for that work. And get across it now. You mentioned the fine, Joe. In many cases, the fine for non-compliance might be even more than what the work is needing to be done. If you're looking at maybe just a heat pump or a few other minor changes, that's probably going to be cheaper than what the fine would be. Logan, you and I talked about financial support for landlords to do Healthy Homes work. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so some of the banks are offering 1%, or actually one of the banks is offering a 0% interest-free loan on those healthy home products like your heat pump, your glazing, your insulation. So there's options out there to jump on that to get compliant. Also at that same time, it might be going, we're struggling here with our home. We can do it at the same time as in, for example, extend the loan term, get that top up and help the whole position.
Again, another reason to give Logan a call. We're giving you plenty of plugs here today. I also want to say too, many of our Rae White offices provide an afterpay style service for healthy homes or maintenance costs. So if you are in that boat of knowing work needs to be done, but you're just wondering how you're going to pay for that, give Logan a call, talk to one of our offices. We have solutions to help you get well underway and well in time. Now, look, we're coming to a close for our session today. Joe, Logan, any final messages for investors watching? Any tips, any advice you want to close off on?
I think owning an investment property can become quite emotional, and it can be difficult to separate the professional side of it from your personal feelings. I think when you use the services of a professional property manager, it's dealt with at a different level. They understand the legislation. They're not dealing out of emotion. They're trying to get the best outcome for you while acting within the laws. So when you add up all the time you spend trying to manage your property privately as opposed to having it managed by a professional and the fees are tax deductible, it's kind of a no-brainer to me. There will be some people, and Kiwis love to do things themselves, that don't want to let go, but I believe you're offering all sorts of solutions to that. So, hey, there's no reason why one of those services won't fit someone.
And Logan?
Yeah, just sort of going back to Joe's point of it being an emotional side of things, we can get quite emotional if things are costing too much and make sort of drastic decisions. But my advice is hold on. We all know that investment properties are a long-term sort of gain. So don't jump out when times are tough. Find solutions to try and get you through these muddy waters, and it'll look brighter at the end.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us today. Logan, where can people reach out to find out more and get in touch with you?
Yeah, we're on the internet, as everyone is, so they can Google Logan Reardon Loan Market. Also, my number's 021 777 688, so don't hesitate to reach out, and happy to chat, or one of my team can have a chat as well.
Perfect. And Joe?
You'll be able to find me through the Real Estate Institute of New Zealand website, so feel free to email.
Great. There is a lot happening. Look, I hope you found some of that information very useful. Today also too is about making sure you're aware of Rae White and the work that we've done. We're incredibly proud of the work our network has put in place in the last 12 months. It's a new standard in property management, a standard few others can match. On top of that, we have industry exclusive new products for DIY self-managing landlords. There is a whole lot there. So visit pm.raywhite.com to find out more, or visit one of your local Rae White offices. Thanks for joining us.